Okay. Oh, we just came off of a premiere that I just finished doing. I told you we're coming in during the premiere. And you know what? So the premiere that we had, just for the people who are just coming in, who were not on the premiere, who are just logging into YouTube or whatever. So basically, I did a video with talking about Malik Yoba and how Malik Yoba has come out and said that he is trans attracted. He's attracted to trans women. And the comments that I was receiving on the live, I was really surprised by my knockouts. I can only hope that the people who were on my, like some of the names I have not seen before. So I can, there were 200 people on that broadcast. So I can just hope that the people who were there were not my knockouts, because I would hope that my knockouts are more open-minded, that my knockouts are more loving of people, because they were like going off about how trans women are not women, etc. And just going off. And I'm like, really, God, I'm really confused. I turn on the phone lines because right now I'm not ready to come into contact with any of you all right now, because I'm so disappointed. I wonder what it is that we've been doing here for all of these years, that we would sit up here and we would just go off and not even have the conversation. Like, I'm trying to have the conversation with you all. Like, what makes a woman a woman? Is it her femininity? Is it her chromosomes? Is it her uterus? What makes a woman a woman? And if a man is engaging in a relationship with a person who is feminine, and he does not come into contact with the person's penis, because like I said, I have gay friends who do not engage in penetrative intercourse. So they don't get penetrated and they do not penetrate another person. So I'm trying to have the conversation so that we can pontificate, because listen, like it or not, like it or not, trans people exist in the world. And we have people who are adults, who are able to consent to be in relationships with people that they choose to consent to be in relationships with, right? We have people, I read this I read this post one day, and the post was basically saying, people christen boats and they call the boat she or her. People call their car she or her. Yet we have an issue with referring to people by the gender they would like to be referred to. And I wonder, why do we take it upon ourselves to demand or assert how we refer to another person? This is the thing that I'm confused about. uh, well, look, I, if you disagree, then let's have the conversation, because this is a conversation that needs to be had. Because, like it or not, look, and first of all, it's not up to you. How a person lives their life and what it is that they choose to do for their life is not up to you. They are in this life attempting to find happiness, peace, some semblance of dignity, human rights, just like the rest of us. I don't really see how. I'll let you all call in, but I need a moment, because I don't want to snap on anybody. Because right now, I don't need to come into contact with another human being right now. I just need to just I need to be able to get into that space. So I'm going to turn on the phone lines, but give me a moment. Let me say what it is that I need to say, right? I don't really see how it takes anything away from us to have enough respect for another human being to say, I'm going to refer to you in the way that you feel most comfortable with me referring to you. It's like you don't own gender. You don't own it. You may have a gender, you may identify as a gender, but you don't get to dictate how other people feel about their gender. You don't get to dictate that. And I am not the best person to speak on this because I am not well versed on the whole trans experience. I'm not. I'm not the best person. I'm not the most educated person on the trans experience. However, I'm a human being. And I understand that just because we're in the majority doesn't mean that we get to dictate and that we get to, I don't want to say, oppress is not the right word, but deny the humanity of another person, to disenfranchise other people. It's like, I don't understand why we can't just live and let live. So Tisha is saying trans women are not women, they are men that want to be women. How is it that you get to decide that? What is it about you that gets to decide how another person identifies? How is it? Tell me. Tell me. I want to know. Because it's like, how does your life, how does your desires or your standards, how does that relate to a completely different human being than you who is living their life separate of you? They're not in your face. They're not requiring anything of you besides respect and human rights. That's it. That's it. That's it. And for you to refer to them how they feel most comfortable being referred to. It's like, I don't understand. I don't understand why. I'm confused. It's like genitalia and all of that, you're not a woman. Okay, there are people who are born with varying degrees of hormones, levels of hormones, as well as different genitalia. There are people who are born like that, they, what do they call it? Intersex, that the there are people different than us that exist. What is so different in the world? Let me turn on the phone lines. The telephone number is 323. And you know what? And judging from the comments that I'm seeing, well, what percentage of the population are transgender? Judging from the comments that I'm seeing, I am beginning to think that there are some quote unquote cis women who are intimidated by trans women coming onto the scene. I think that there are some of you out there who are intimidated by the irrational way that you can't explain why it is that you refuse to see a person's humanity. I'm beginning to think, yes, I am beginning to think. I'm beginning to think like, I don't really see, how does it affect you? How does it affect you if a trans woman says, I'm a woman? How does that affect you? I want to know. How does it affect you? Just knowing that they exist in the world, just knowing that there are men who date them. Okay, listen. I want to know, how does it affect you? All right. Phone lines are open. Phone lines are open. All right. So someone is like, Tanya, what the F? No, Selena or whatever your name is. What the F with you? What the F with a lot of you out there? Yeah, it's really bizarre. So phone line, I want to know, how does it affect you? It affects the birth rate. How does it affect the birth rate? Niggas are still out here having 7 and 8 babies. Have you heard seen Future lately? All right, you are on the air. Hello, I don't think the sound is coming through. Let me check for the sound of the speakers. Something is not. Let's see. Something is not right. Okay, hold on. Get the Bluetooth on. Give me one moment. The sound is not on. How does it affect the birth rates? People are still having children? How? Tell me, how does it affect the birth rate? How? And from what it is that I hear, black children make up the majority of children in foster care. They're right now that you could adopt. So tell me, I want to know how. Let's see. I'm trying to pair the device right now, but I do not see the device even on my list. I might have to turn on the big one, because this one for some reason is not connecting. All right, hold on. I gotta turn on the large one.
With all of our content, our course, lessons, and topics in order, let's take a look at building quizzes.
Oh Lord.
We'll go over to our Learn Dash section in the menu.
I'm sorry,
We'll
my computer
quizzes.
is playing sounds. Hold
Much
on.
like the other screens we've seen,
I don't know what is going.
all,
Okay, here we go. I gotta stop these. I didn't know that this thing was playing over here. I'm learning earlier. I was doing some e-learning. Okay, so we have you on the line. All right. So what's your name?
Hello, this is 123 Creations. How are you?
Hi. Can you all hear 123? Let me know if you all can hear her. If you can hear her, put a 1.
Hello, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, they can hear you. So volume good. Let me know if her volume is good.
Can everyone hear me fine?
What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn up your volume a little bit more just to make sure that we have good volume. All right, say something now.
Okay. Hello, Tonya.
All right, perfect. All right.
Wow. So, okay, first I'd like to start off by saying I have nothing against homosexuals, transgenders, things like that. I live in the Bay Area, in San Francisco, Oakland, and that's what's out here. I see it every day, so I have totally nothing against them. I have friends, associates, people I work with who are homosexuals, who are transgenders, and they are nice and kind people. Have nothing against them. So now that that's out the way, my slight issue is, okay, if he's, for example, with this guy, if he's attracted to transgender women, that's fine. That's his prerogative. He can be attracted to whoever he wants. My only issue is when, if that was to take place, it's like, okay, and then you go and you want to be with what they call cisgender woman or a natural woman, okay? You turn around and want to be with a cisgender woman. It's like, I'm trying to pick a side, if you want to be with, or be, like they're bisexuals, or it's like be open about it, and whoever he decides to be with, whether she's transgender or cisgender, whatever, hopefully that information is up front and put out there in the open, because I feel like maybe some women not necessarily feel threatened, but it's like I can't compete with a man who is trying to who identifies as a woman. Like, I don't have what he has, even though he might wear the dress and the makeup and the hair and the feminine exterior. I still don't have the same equipment he has, so there's no competition there. Whether versus if it was another woman, then okay, I would could compete in the marketplace. But if we're trying to, if what it looks like is happening is like this big melting pot where everybody's just, people don't want to label themselves. People want to get rid of labels. Like, when you talk to a gay person, okay, you know what it is. If they're bisexual, you know what it is. But it's not, there's no definitive line. It's like, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Am I making sense?
Yeah.
So I just feel like, you know, some women may, like in the comment section, I don't know, but may feel threatened or may feel a little, because it's like, okay, I can't compete with that. There's no, you know, if you want to be with a man or so, you know, or someone who,
All right.
I don't know, there's no
Okay. Well,
competition.
thank you. So you feel that you cannot compete with a person who has a penis. What if, in their interactions, he never even comes into contact with the person's penis? What if he doesn't suck penis or touch penis or any of that? What if his only interaction is with the person's bosom or anus or butt cheeks or all of that? What about that?
Well, to actually know that you are engaging with a transgender is, I feel like, and it's not about being homophobic, it's just about knowing that that's not what you would want. Like, for use myself as an example. When I was in junior high school, I remember I was watching the other kids play basketball, and it was this, I thought it was all guys, and it was this girl, I thought it was a guy. Her hair, she had like the Brat fringe braids with the designs. She was like dunking on all the guys. I was like, who is that? She is, like I said, he is so cute. Oh my God, like, what is his name? And everybody was laughing at me. And I'm like, what's so funny? They're just laughing. I'm like, I don't know why y'all laughing, because he is hella cute. Like, I don't understand. And then I walked up to who I thought was him, and I said, oh, you know, you played really good, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I heard just stopped my plans right then and there, you know. So, and I'm a woman. So, I mean, it wasn't like, oh, I felt disgusted or I felt ashamed. It was just like, oh, okay. Now that I know what this is.
How does that relate to our conversation at hand?
Okay, so it relates to our conversation, because it's one thing to be attracted to men and you don't know that they're transgender, but once you know what it is, it's like you know, it kind of, um, to continue on with that, I feel like now you're actually, you can't just say, I'm a heterosexual now, and I'm pursuing this transgender. It's like, no,
Okay.
it doesn't make you a bad
And
person.
then, but
You
then let me
shouldn't
ask
be
you. So let me
embarrassed,
ask you
but you
this.
can't.
So you're
Okay.
saying, according to you, it stops the
Okay.
person from being heterosexual. Um, we look. There are many different people on this world who have many different points of
Right.
views. So how does your point of view supersede another person's point of view? He feels he's heterosexual. Um, Last thing, and then we're going to let you go because there are other phone calls
Okay.
that are trying to come through, right?
Hmm.
Oh, I lost my train of thought. There was a question that I wanted to ask you about. It escaped me. It escaped me.
You said you were asking me how my point of view, as far as, you're right. All I'm saying is, hopefully, whoever he gets with, if
Oh
he
yeah.
decides to.
That's
Okay, go
what.
ahead.
Yes, that's what I wanted to ask. You know,
Okay.
I'm confused by how we expect people to be open and to be forthright if we're going to lambast them, attack them, abuse them for that which we say that we would require for them to be forthright about. This is why so many people
Oh, you
hide.
know, I definitely agree with that. We should not abuse or disrespect people for being upfront. I just feel like whoever's on the receiving end, that woman, if he meets a cisgender woman, he should disclose that information, and then she should decide if she's okay with that, or if not. And if she's not okay with it, she shouldn't be disrespectful. She shouldn't be evil. She should just say, you know, hey, I'm sorry, you know, I would not like to continue this, you
Okay.
know. So you 250%. Like the disrespect
right.
and all that, no. But it's like I said with the basketball girl analogy.
Okay.
Like
Well,
once I
listen,
knew that that
thank
was a
you.
woman,
Thank
I
you
was
so
done.
much for calling in, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye bye.
All right, so the phone lines are open. Some of you are saying that the phone number doesn't work. It works. Don't you hear there's someone on the phone? It's like you're talking about I can't get through when you hear me talking to a person. So it's not, so the phone lines are open and no one is on the line at this moment. So go ahead and do your call in. I want to hear from you all about, I guess we're talking about this whole transphobic transgender issue. You're on the air with Tonya. What's your name?
My name is Hazel Green, 85.
Hey Hazel, what's going on?
Hi, I just wanted to answer, I guess, any questions that anyone has about the whole transgender, trans man, trans woman thing.
Are you transgender?
No, I am not. I'm actually pansexual, but
Okay.
I am very open and understanding of the whole uh, trans lifestyle. I have several Bernie Sanders friends who are trans men.
Well, how does that relate to Bernie Sanders?
Well, what I'm saying is, I met them through my political group.
Oh,
I have a
okay.
Bernie Sanders political group,
I
and
see.
a lot of the, I became friends with them after the
Okay. Well,
campaign,
you know
and a lot
what?
of them
How
were
about,
trans men.
you know what? That's cool. So I'll ask you some questions that I myself want to know. And if there's anybody transgender out there who is brave enough to call in and educate us, that will be great. We're going to ask Hazel some questions. So if you have some questions for Hazel, then I'll ask her. All right. So Hazel, what is it that you want to share right off the bat?
Well, I see in the comments that a lot of women are saying that trans women, trans men or trans women, they are not real women. I don't think that's what they're trying to do. I don't think they're trying to compete with. But I know they are not trying to compete with uh, women who are born female. They identify as being women, and they don't feel comfortable with their body. So much so, it's like a childhood trauma for them, growing up, being forced to be male when they feel that they're female. So they go through the whole body change for them. It's not a competition. They're not trying to take any straight man from a straight woman. They're not trying to take anybody's man. It's just that this is who they feel that they should be, and they want to live their truth peacefully, comfortably. They're not trying to, how do you say, force it down anyone's throat. They just want to live their life peacefully, happily, not bother anybody, and they don't want anybody to bother them. That's my understanding.
Okay. All right. Well, you said that you're pansexual. What does that mean?
Well, a pansexual person is someone who's not limited to a specific gender. For me, I'm attracted to trans men, trans women, gay men, straight men, lesbians, bisexual women, transsexual, hermaphrodites. Some people call them he, she male, something like that. I'm just attracted to people. It has nothing to do with genitalia. It has everything to do with their mind, their compassion. If they're compassionate, if they're loving people, they show empathy, things like that. That I'm attracted to another human being, but adult, not a child, an adult.
Okay, so you said that you're attracted to just human beings. So you like penis and you like vagina.
Yeah,
You like
but
breast.
that's not bisexual.
You like breast and you like pecs.
Do I like what?
Breast, pecs, you like them both.
Yes.
Okay. Hmm. Interesting.
I'm married to a man. I've been married to a man for 9 years. And to where we are, we're comfortable now. Yesterday was my ninth wedding anniversary.
What do you mean you came out to
Um,
him? Came out to him as what?
I can't be.
You said you came out to him. Came out to him as what?
As pansexual. I
But
told him the truth.
but how does
And
that? But how does pansexuality really? Then who else you're attracted to doesn't really matter, does it?
well, for me, it did. I felt like I was hiding a secret, and I didn't feel comfortable with that. I've had this secret my whole life. And
So so okay. So were you mentioning this to him because you want to bring other people into your marriage?
no, it had nothing to do with bringing anybody into the marriage. It just, I guess I'd say, like, okay, so, like, if we are watching, I don't know, porn or something, what he likes and what I like are two different things. So I sit there and watch something and it does nothing for me. And he's asking me, what's going on? But it's not doing anything for me. And there's something else that I like that gets me excited.
What like what?
Okay, a lot of women like guy on guy porn.
Okay.
I know that's taboo. I know, but a lot of people find that odd. But there's a lot of women that are like me, and they like that. They get excited. They're attracted to that, right? So I had to come out. I had to come out and tell them the truth.
So you
I don't
came
want them to catch.
so you came out and you told him, listen, but the thing is that you said you're pansexual. So you're saying that the
Right?
porn he was watching wasn't doing anything for you, but the porn he was watching was what? Heterosexual porn, man and woman?
Yeah,
But
and
you're
it's cool. I like it. I'm excited about it. But that wasn't anything to get me going. It wasn't anything that got my heart racing and stuff like that. That got me more excited. What I told you I like got me more excited than what we were watching.
um okay. I don't know what to say because you're married to a man, you and this man have heterosexual sex. However, what gets your heart racing is looking at two men together.
Yeah.
Okay.
But having sex and just sexuality is not simple. It's not just, oh, I'm having sex with somebody that I love and he's a male. It looks like heterosexual sex to you, but I'm not a heterosexual. I've just fell in love with a man and I married a man. I'm still attracted to other people. It doesn't change anything.
Okay. I don't know what to say because it's not like you said, oh, all porn turns me on. It's not like you said, oh, all of these different things turn me on. You said that looking at the type of porn that he wants to look at does nothing for you. That's what you said. And then you said that what does get your heart racing is looking at man on man. So, I mean, it's
Right.
very interesting. It's very interesting. So, Hazel, thank you so much for calling in.
Okay.
All right
Thanks for
then.
taking the call.
All right. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
All right. So the phone lines are open. When someone is on the line, you cannot get through. You got to wait for them to come off. You need to keep trying. So we're having a conversation. There were some transphobic people who were on our last broadcast. And so I've opened up the phone lines for us to be able to talk and have a conversation. You are on the air live with Tonya. What's your name?
My name is actually Tonya.
Your name is what?
Tonya.
Oh, are you the TANIA that was in the comments earlier that was going
Oh, no,
off?
no, 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 no. No, 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 no. The discussion I'm going to have with you is definitely going to be more respectful.
Okay. So what's up, Tonya?
So the reason why, oh, I'm sorry?
You have to listen through the phone, not through the computer, because there's a delay.
Okay, no problem. So the reason why I was calling is because I left a comment in the chat. I'm in Canada, and I actually do work with trans women. I think the issue that people are having with trans women is there's a couple of different issues that are going on. First is gaslighting. especially with your own work with, self help. I'm sure you know what that is, but for the people who don't know what that is, gaslighting is basically when someone tells you that the sky is pink when you know it's blue. So, with that being the issue, it's hard for people to accept that a trans woman is a woman because biologically we know that there are differences between men and women, and it's just not debatable. But
Okay.
when we start breaking things down into a conversation where you're saying there's a difference between gender and sexuality, that's when things get muddy. And keep in mind, within our community, like I'm Jamaican, and I grew up with very, very traditional views of, of sexuality and sex. Like, I'm not sure, I think you're Jamaican too. I'm sure you remember that Buju song, Bombay, bye, and I bought people, and
Mm-hmm.
that was the music that we grew up with. And we just understood that that's how things work. But the problem is that when it comes to the issue of transgenderism, one, in the black community, we have a hard time accepting gay people, which is a huge problem. It forces people underground, that's one. But two, when it comes to transgenders, we have an issue as women because they invade, or not, I shouldn't say invade, that's excessive language, but they end up in female spaces. So what that means is just, things like being able to comfortably use a restroom, things like sports, scholarships that were created specifically for women because there are biological differences. Women are now no longer qualifying for them because trans women are taking those scholarships. So these are legitimate concerns.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when it goes to Malik's issue, now I think for most people, I remember watching an interview with him a couple of years ago and being able to kind of tell that he was a little bit he's going to be a little bit more
Your
open
phone
to
is your phone
us.
is getting muffled.
Oh, is this any better?
Yes, it's clear now. Go ahead.
Okay, so you could kind of tell that he's a little bit he's more into like different types of sexuality, whatever. But we can't push or kind of endorse absolutely everything in the black community. We're not like the white community. The white community talks about feminism, but they don't really practice it the way that we do. They talk about open, accepting of being accepting of being gay and being, lesbian or whatever. But the circumstances and the environment that they are in is completely different from ours. Ours is way more heavily impacted by things like disease, things like HIV. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So we end up being a microcosm. The black community ends up being a microcosm of issues that are going on in the world, and they hit us very, very hard. So that's why when I believe a man who is bisexual, I don't want to date a man who has had sex with men, it is natural for you to kind of recoil from that a little bit because when you look at the rate of HIV in our community, it's extremely high. I live in Toronto, and one of the biggest things is in the LGBT community, and um, it skyrocketed over the last few years. And then on top of that, when I worked with trans women, all of them, and I'm not kidding, Tonya, when I say all of them, and I've worked with about 30 of them over the past 2.5 years, they
Mm-hmm.
were all married. They all have with men before they transitioned, or even if they just transitioned part time while still married. That is incredibly dangerous. Um, and so it's natural for people to say this is unacceptable. I don't support this. So it's for me personally, it's a health issue. It's just like with us as women. We all know guys who refuse to have sex with a condom. They like how many times have we all had to turn down sex because guys refuse to use condoms? It's the exact same thing in the gay community. Raw sex feels better, but highly risky.
Okay,
I'm
so
sorry, I blabbered on for a little.
yeah, no, I don't feel that you blabbered. We're having a conversation. So you say that, so listen, I can definitely understand what you're saying about entering into female spaces and then being able to benefit from opportunities that people who were born female are not able to benefit from, like if like in terms of sports, and this is something that I've said in the category, we need to come up with a new category to be able, we need to be able to have the conversations. And this thing that we're talking about with the rate of dis-ease in the black community because of, people who are living double lives, it doesn't go away by enough to have the conversation. Because right now,
You're absolutely right.
because you know what, remember I told you all about the guy I dated. I didn't date him. The guy I knew who was a football player, who wanted to engage in this threesome with me and a transgender woman, and I was like, no, that's not my thing, right? But the way that I was able to get him to open up about who it is that he really is by accepting him for who he is. So I knew from the very beginning, this is a man who has certain proclivities. And when we talked, I opened up the floor and the space for him to be able to come out and speak earnestly. Now, I can only imagine that there's a number of men. Now, there are some men who are going to be homophobic, even though they have homosexual tendencies. There are going to be some men who are going to be homophobic just because of all of the stuff that's assigned to homosexuality. However, I can imagine that a great number of those men would love to be able to open up to their wives. And I can imagine that when they were sitting down listening to their wife watch a YouTube video and they saw the stuff that she was typing into the thing, he was like, you know what? This ain't a safe place for me to open up. And then he kept his secret, and I don't know. I don't know from there. I don't know.
I understand what you're saying, and I definitely respect your opinion. The only difference that I have when it comes to that is when it comes to issues of sexuality. Like I personally, I enjoy sex. I love sex with the right partner, and I've been with people who have been very, very open about the fact that they like a particular type of sex, and we had that conversation at the beginning. These are conversations that you have with someone in the beginning. It's harder for you to spring, I like being pegged, for example. And for those of you who don't know what that is, when a woman penetrates a man with a prosthetic or a dildo, for example, I like that in the middle of your marriage. It's very difficult for some people to get past that. But one thing I think we also need to keep in mind is that when it comes to these conversations, we can't have these conversations with believing we're on the same playing field as white people. We just can't.
This is the second time. This is the second time I've heard you bring up race into the conversation. I'm curious. How do white people come into the conversation with respecting another person's human rights? How does that?
Thank you for asking the question. The reason it comes up is because the laws that get implemented are implemented by white institutions. And keep in mind, the reason why you are seeing such a push for transgender rights and you see it so aggressively is because, and I believe this to be true, because the majority of the people who pioneered a lot of the trans movements were white. And as we know, they organize better than we do. So that's one. So that's part of the reason why you see such an aggressive defense of transgenderism. For example, if you disagree that there is a aggressive defense of transgenderism, I dare anyone in the comment section to actually openly, in their own workspaces or wherever they work, say that they disagree with men being able to transition into women, versus saying something like, you should be able to use the N-word in music, or something along the lines that would pertain to black people. There will be a more aggressive defense of transgenders than there will be of black people. So that's how race shows up.
I'm still confused as to why we as black people are not able to respect the human rights of other people. How does it relate to Caucasians?
But also keep in mind that the transgender issue is a tricky issue, because in order for you to respect someone else's human rights, you have to deny your own. So this goes back to gaslighting.
How?
Because if you are saying to me that I, as a biological woman, there's nothing that separates me from a trans woman, nothing. Nothing. There's nothing that makes us different. That means I also have to deny biological reality. Perfect example, the denial of human rights when it comes to trans people, it actually shows up once again in a legal sense because, as I said, you can look it up, that was recently shut down because it refused to admit a trans woman. So as you can see, in favoring that one person's human rights, an entire host of battered women, including Black women, were denied a safe space for them to be treated and seek help. Do you see what I mean? It seems to be an issue of human rights when it favors a more marginalized group. And there will always, and with and it seems like the discussion around trans people always going to be the more marginalized group as opposed to Black people. So that's why they will always take precedent over us.
Okay, when you say take precedent, I'm confused as to so basically what you're saying is if I give this person this right, it takes away from my right.
In certain regards, yes, and in certain regards, no. So, perfect example. If you decide that you want to play on a women's basketball team and you're going for a scholarship, you have to keep the same energy that you have right now. So, say you want to get this basketball team and this scholarship
Yeah, I
is your
need you.
only way to do it.
Look. I need you. Look, hold on. I've already said that I believe that because of the biological differences, I believe that there needs to be a different category for sports, but that doesn't come by ignoring the fact that there are trans people out there. And then also, just for people who are watching, when a person who is transgender, who is taking hormones, it reduces their testosterone and their ability to be able to have the advantage. So this is what I read. From what it is that I read, that when it comes side by side in sports, that when a transgender woman is on her hormone therapy of progesterone and estrogen and progesterone, that she has the same exact strength as a person who was born a woman or born female.
This is biologically untrue. And the reason for that is because you also have to factor in when the person transitions. If the person transitions prior to puberty, then absolutely that helps to level the playing field.
Okay,
But
well,
let's
listen,
just say that
I'm specifically disinterested in having a conversation about the sports aspect because I know that the muscle fibers are different. I know that there's a different level of strength that exists. So I definitely think that there needs to be a new category. So I'm not interested in arguing with you
but
on that.
right. But going back to what you're saying about new categories, again, this goes back to legality. They're saying there is no biological difference between a trans woman and a trans man. This is what trans people are saying. I work with them. They don't believe that they should have a separate category. They don't believe there should be a separate category because they are women. So you
Okay.
can't even argue that. You can't even debate that issue. So right off the bat, I've quite literally worked and known trans women in my own life who have heard the very same suggestion that you've made, that there should be a separate category, and they have said this is a form of segregation. You are
Yeah, well,
basically
you know
saying
what?
trans women are not women, and it is a form of oppression. This is what they literally said to me.
Right. I hear what you're saying. Tell me your name again.
My name's Tanya.
Okay, Tanya. All right. So yeah, so listen, I hear what it is that you're saying. And it sounds like you're saying that if we allow transgender women to identify as women, then we will, one, no longer be able to compete in sports. Two, we may not be able to have the resources afforded to us from the state and the government in terms of battered women's shelter, as well as some other spaces unknown to us right now. So therefore, we must what? What is it that we must do in order to maintain those spaces for ourselves?
Well, we have to. This also goes back to some of the other videos that you've done that I absolutely love, where you talk about women and our role as women to be the inspiration to men, and their women bring something specific to the table. If we start saying that men can be women and women can be men, we take away from biological women, we kind of take away from ourselves in that regard because we bring something specific to the table. We bring our wombs. Like you said, we are womb men, right? So we bring something very specific
What
that
is
he
the
can't get
solution?
somewhere else.
What is the solution? Because
The solution,
trans people exist. They exist. What is the
no one's
solution?
denying their existence.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other thing. The terminology that they use is that to say that a trans woman is not a woman is to deny their existence. That is not true. We recognize you exist. You are human. You are not biologically the same as a woman with a womb. You are different.
Right.
But to
So
say what I think that is inadequate.
what is
So
the solution? So trans women exist. They do not have wombs. However, they hold a space as female. So what is the solution?
Yes, absolutely. The problem with the solution, and this is why it's a complicated issue, is because the solution lies more with trans women. Because when you're tackling gender dysphoria, that is a personal issue. I cannot tell you how to feel about yourself. All I can do is respect your right as a human being. But when your right as a human being denounces my right as a human being, that's where there's a conflict. And that's why the solution is not easy, and that's why it's a complicated issue.
How and where does a trans woman's rights denounce anybody else's rights? How?
So again, going back to if a trans woman decides or says that she is a biological woman, I as a woman, and I'm literally watching it happen in my own life, I have to take a back seat to her needs. Quite literally, women are losing. I actually watched a woman lose out on an opportunity, professional opportunity, because in the era of diversity and inclusion, they felt not obligated, but they decided that they were going to hire a trans person to show that they were more diverse, even though she was not qualified. And this was a Black woman. We are noticing that there is and keep in mind, I don't want anyone to be misconstrued. Trans women are a type of women, and they should definitely be respected. And I don't think that Malik's preference for trans women is a problem. I just think that we need to have a more, for one, you are absolutely right, the Black community needs to be more respectful of the fact that people do prefer what they prefer, and the more we force people into the closet, the higher the rate of HIV, and that's a huge issue.
Okay.
You're absolutely right.
Hold on for just one moment. I want everybody to Google this right now. Please Google what percent of the population is transgender. If you were to guess without Googling this, what would you say in the United States is the percent of people? Excuse me. Hold on, just what? No, before you hold on, I'm gonna have to put you on mute because I don't want you to answer. I want people in the audience to answer. If you would, so somebody is saying 2%, 3%, 25%, 1/4 of the population, 0.011, 45%, Lord, 1%, 2 or 3%, 0.5%. I want you all to Google it. I did a quick Google search, and so go ahead, Tonya, answer. What do you think is the percentage?
So it's approximately about 0.01% of the population, approximately. But here's the thing. It's just like the activism has been very, very loud on social media, so it's become a massive echo chamber. This tiny population has this massive voice. And because I live in Canada, what I'm seeing happening is there's an aggressive push for social justice and social activism. And this social activism trumps absolutely everything. It has gotten to the point where you literally cannot disagree with it without being labeled a transphobe or a bigot. There's no conversation that can be had. You disagreeing says that you are a hateful person. Like, that doesn't even make sense. And even when you bring up facts, people get upset and they say, well, how does this get actual evidence, that even evidence in my own life that this is a problem, and you're still labeled a hateful person because you won't shut up and go along with it.
I'm listening to what it is that you're saying, and I find it a little disturbing that you work with transgender people and you harbor these ideas about how they're taking something away from you, how 0.01% of the population is taking something from you. According to the stat that I see,
that they were taking.
Hold on. You did say that. You said you've seen it in your own life, that there were opportunities taken away from natural born women, and So give me just 1 second. In the United States, it says that 0.6% of the population, 0.6% of the population identifies as transgender. So we have 50% of the population in the United States is female. The other 50, it balances right along the middle, half female, half male. So of the people in the United States, 0.6% of the people identify as transgender. So you said you work with transgender people, but you have these feelings
Yes.
inside of you.
But here's this is going back to what I was just saying. The fact that I disagree with a certain way that certain laws are being implemented does not mean that I have an issue with trans women. If I had an issue with trans women, I would not be working with them.
Right.
And on top of that, you also have to keep in mind that the trans community is not a monolith. The majority of the trans women that I work with recognize that they are not biological women. They feel like women. So also keep in mind, I'm not sure how much research you've done into the community. You know, like there's gender dysphoria, and then there's also other trans women who identify as trans, but they do not have gender dysphoria. They believe that they're women. They believe that, and then there's other ones that don't believe that they're women, but they identify as women. Do you see the difference?
Right, exactly. But see,
Right. So
I am concerned. I am concerned that you work with transgender. Listen, there are a lot of people who harbor feelings about a particular community and still serve that community. Meanwhile, deep inside of them, they
But you're
have
making it
troubling
sound like I have
ideals.
hatred towards the community.
I'm not
for
saying that
having
you have
for
hatred. I said that I'm concerned, and I am. I'm concerned. I'm concerned because meanwhile you're serving. I'm concerned because you're serving a community that you have these feelings about them encroaching upon female space and absconding opportunities, and that we cannot.
But I can't list actual examples.
I'm sorry.
These are actual examples.
Okay. And so so there was a women's shelter, and there was a transgender woman who was being battered, and they wouldn't allow the transgender woman into the shelter. Why?
I don't know what the circumstances were, but
Right.
I'm just saying that we need to have a further conversation before
Your phone is getting muffled. Your phone is getting muffled again. So
Hello, can you hear me?
yeah, but it was getting muffled. I'm gonna say this, right? The example that you gave about the shelter, okay, so now all of these women lost access to this resource because how dare this transgender person try to enter into this space. So
That is not what I'm saying at all.
okay.
That's what I'm saying. It's okay. Here's an example for yourself as well. I've been working on videos for quite some time. You have had criticisms of the black community. You've had criticisms of black men in the black
Your
community.
phone is still muffled. Your phone is still muffled.
Hello, can you hear
Yeah.
me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you've had opinions and criticisms of black men in the black community and their behavior, and even the guy who, was boasting about his 9-month pregnant wife, still working. You still have criticism, but that does not take away from your ability to see humanity in them, in us. That does not take away from your ability to see them as human beings. That does not take away from your respect for the black community. You can be critical without being judgmental and condemning an entire group of people and saying, I hate you. To sit back and
that's not a good example.
You can't criticize anything.
That's not a good example because I wouldn't be the best person
Why not?
to work. I wouldn't be the best person to work with a man who was a bum. I know, listen, I don't know how many of you out there know I have issues with men who are bums. That's why I criticize them so heavily. If I was serving a population of people who were bums, I would hope that you would be very concerned for those people because they ain't going to get a fair shake from me. They're not going to get a fair shake. They're going to have some issues coming up against Tonya, and I'm going to be letting them know I can be able to sit there quietly. So that's not a good example because I have criticism of bums. And I do not serve a bum community. As a matter of fact, every Wednesday we call them up and we out.
Example away. Would that be a fair example?
No, I have criticism of bums and bum behavior.
Okay, so there's no criticism, never criticized the Black community at all for anything that we've done. Maybe things like, like having children out of wedlock. Never, never.
And you know
We have
something, and I'm trying to be very honest with you. The people that I criticize harshly on my show are people that I would not personally serve. I would not personally serve those people because I would be concerned for those people if I were to serve them. And that's what I don't serve them. I concentrate my efforts on helping people level up by leaving those people alone. So if you're going to use me as an example and how that relates to you, then I'm even more concerned now. I'm even more concerned. But Tonya, thank you so much for calling in. We appreciate you calling and discussing. There were a lot of people in the audience who felt what you were saying, so you were able to articulate a lot of their points of view. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right. All right. Phone lines are open. And I listen. We got Montgomery in the house, right? That's Montgomery, right? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, are you in Montgomery?
No, I'm not. I'm in North Carolina.
Is that a North Carolina area code?
Yep, it certainly is.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Alabama in the house. All right. So,
Well, not a whole lot of difference in some ways.
oh, okay. So what are your thoughts now calling in about this whole situation?
Well, I think that the caller before did make some good points, but I'd have to disagree on some things. First of all, well, I'm African American, and I do think I have to applaud Malik Yoba for speaking his truth, because a lot of men don't. And that's something that, unfortunately, in our community, we have a lot of problems with. It's part of our history since we've fought for our rights, our ancestors have anyway, that I think sometimes we get a little myopic in our views, and I think trans issues have become a civil issue. You know, we're talking about people's rights here, how they should be dealt with in public spaces and things like that. And those are important issues. People just need to be treated fairly and not discriminated against. And I think that's something that's very important.
Okay, well, if I understand the last caller, I don't think that she's saying that people should be discriminated against. I think she was saying that there are opportunities that are being lost to a very small portion of the population, and that portion of the population being above reproach, that they cannot be criticized in any way, and that some of them have some very toxic all or nothing views where they would refuse to acknowledge a biological difference, and they are then bullying the rest of the people into trying to adopt an idea that may not be realistic. So I think that's one of the things that she was saying.
I did understand that part, but too, as far as making concessions or inviting people into spaces, say, like you said about the job, the trans woman getting a job over another woman who happened to have been black. I found it very interesting when she used that analogy, because not that long ago, white people would have been saying the same thing about us.
Yeah, that's true.
So, while it seems like things may be unfair at this point to a lot of the majority, because look, to make progress, you have to give a little here and take a lens that trans women infringe
at all on my rights. I've never been anywhere. I mean, I've lived in large cities and small cities, and I've never experienced where someone was like, oh, you're not going to get this because we're going to give it to this trans woman.
Yeah, I know, but she says she saw that.
I think
so
part of it is, I'm sorry?
I know, but she says she saw that, so.
I think, honestly, what it boils down to is, look, we've got to be honest. America is a puritanical country, and it's very hard for people, even though we're supposed to separate church and state, it's very hard for people not to let their religious views come into what they believe politically. And I think, honestly, that's a little bit more of what plays on a lot of the laws that we have going on, just like in some of the southern states, they're trying to take away women's abortion rights.
Yeah.
So what we're looking at here is people's views of what they think is right and wrong.
Yeah.
And they just want to say, oh, we just don't want these people here. Well, I've got news for you. Trans people have existed in every culture since the beginning of time. We're not the only one to ever tackle this issue. And actually, in a lot of cultures, Filipino culture, Native American culture, trans people are revered.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, in our society, people have to elevate themselves, they have to put someone down.
Well, I really, I don't, I don't, okay. Okay. You know what? I'll take that at face value, because and I don't know if we're going to be able to get to the bottom of this tonight. I'm doing the premiere for the Malik Yoba. Listen, I'm sorry. I'm doing the premiere for the Malik Yoba video on Facebook right now. It started 3 minutes ago. And so I need to jump over there for the premiere. So we're going to end this broadcast. We've been on for an hour. I thank you for calling in. So thank you for calling in. I'm going to say goodbye to everyone now. Thank you.
Sure, and I respect what you do. Keep doing it.
Thank you. This is a conversation that we need to, that is a much broader conversation, right? And and there's a lot of stuff that's just not going to be uncovered tonight. However, I've learned something from each one of the callers, and I especially, with Tonya calling in and giving some of her points of view as a person who works with trans people and who have seen things, I see and I hear the fear that exists inside of her, even if she doesn't recognize it as fear. I see this is our space and you're intruding into this space and maybe taking opportunities or resources or whatnot from us. And then the first caller, 123, who was talking about how she really can't compete with a person who has all of the accoutrements of femininity, but that one part to get in that place that you just can't get into. Right? But you know what? Listen, we may need to have this conversation again tomorrow. Make sure your notifications are on, because I don't know when I'll go live, but I'm going to sleep on this tonight. But I need to jump over to the video on Facebook that is premiering right now, because you all like when I'm there for your premiere. So let me jump over there for the premiere there. So thank you all. Leave your, I have to find a way. I think we have to find a way to coexist. And if there are some people who miss out on some quote unquote opportunities because a trans person came into that space, okay, well, when you make an omelet, sometimes you gotta, well, no, not sometimes. When you make an omelet, you gotta break some eggs. And in the effort of all people having a seat at the table, there are going to be some people who are going to not be able to sit at the table so that somebody else can sit there. And I think that there's room enough for all of us. Now, in terms of the sports thing, I think that we need to have a conversation. Yeah, there are some people who have that all or nothing point of view. And I saw some of you in the comments talking about how trans women insult black women and this, that person is going to be a good person. There are good and bad people that identify as any number of things. There are toxic and healthy people that identify as any number of things. So just because some trans person insulted you that's not a reflection on trans people. That's a reflection on that human being and how they decide to get down in their lives. You know what I'm saying? So on that note, I will see you all in the comments. And listen, Tanya Thomas, I'm going to address you directly because you've been going off on this for more than an hour now. Say something new. You've been saying they are men over and over again. Say something new. Come with some new information, because just hollering out the same thing over and over again just makes you look insane. And listen, if you want to attract my attention with some dysfunctional thoughts, attract my attention. If you want, don't participate in behavior that is going to put my eyes on you when I behave, and the spirit that we speak about over here. If you want it, let me know if you want it. I can give it to you. All right? I will see you all in whatever video it is that we decide to make tomorrow. All right? I will see you all tomorrow. I got to jump over to this premiere. I'll see you all. Good night, everyone. Good night. Good night.